let's get our amazing panelists to the stage. But hold on, I want to introduce them one by one. Right. So first up, we have Dr. Ebony Aya, our first panelist. Woo! Dr. Ebony Aya is a program manager at Macalester College and a recent doctoral graduate from the University of Minnesota. The experiences of Black women in higher education and reclaims African ways of knowing and our learning spaces. She is also the founder of the Aya Collective, a creative and academic community that amplifies Black women's voices through writing, reflection, and authorship. Dr. Aya, your work invites us to see storytelling as a path to liberation and healing. Thank you. Next up, we got Dr. Z. Dr. Zakia Robinson is here, affectionately known as Dr. Z. She is a published author, accountability coach, college professor, and has served as the president of the Lambda Zeta graduate chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I was waiting. With over 20 years of experience in child and family therapy and as the executive director of the Doorsteps Legacy Foundation, Dr. Z's work bridges empowerment, mentorship, and behavioral health in the ways that truly transform lives. Dr. Z, you remind us that resilience is as much about accountability as it is about compassion. Thank you. Next up, we have Lucien Olson, our third panelist. Give it up, give it up. Lucien is our health and wellness professional, youth advocate, and founder of the Revival Training and Revival Mentoring. Through her work at B3 Sports and in community, she creates a trauma-informed, holistic programs for justice, impacted youth, and underserved families. Lucien, you embody whole person wellness, mind, body, and spirit, and bring movement to the idea of healing in action. Thank you. Next up, we have Dr. Antoine Player. Give it up, give it up. Dr. Antoine is the assistant professor and program coordinator for the Clinical Mental Health Counseling Department at the Asbury Graduate School. With more than a decade of experience as a counselor and educator, he focuses on helping people achieve self-actualization and has served as the ethics chair for the Association for Multicultural Counseling and Development. Dr. Player, which I love this name. I'm sorry, I was like, wait, say it.
I don't know.
Your dedication to ethical care and inclusive practice has opened new conversations about how culture and counseling really intersect in our healing work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Willie Burton. Give it up, y'all. A former NBA athlete turned educator, program developer, and the founder of XLU, a behavioral change curriculum that empowers youth, athletes, and educators alike. Willie has transformed his platform as an athlete into a national model for leadership and resilience, using education and mentorship to create safe spaces for youth. Willie, your life's work shows what's possible when purpose and perseverance meet service. So thank you. Let's give a round. So today, y'all, together, this extraordinary group of people and individuals really reflects the spirits of tonight's theme: reconstructive resilience through the lens of lived experience, education, healing, and community transformation. So I thought I was gonna spit, but I'm gonna stand and ask you all some questions. So we have some individual questions for you folks. But we have some collective questions. I want to start with the collective questions. So we all get to hear from everybody. Your mics should all be on. Let's just do a little test before we get started. We'll just say the names of the mic. Willie, you want to go first? Oh, you good?
No, I just was tapping just to make sure it works.
Dr. Clay, you good?
Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. So to start our conversation and to ground us in the collective heartbeat of tonight's theme, I'd like to invite you all to reflect on this. When you think about the word resilience, what does it mean to you personally, and how has your understanding of it evolved over time?
I mean, I can jump in if that's okay.
Come on, Dr. Player! Jump in!
Resiliency, especially in my profession, mental health counseling, is very important. I explain resiliency from adults to kids as the ability to bounce back. So metaphorically speaking, if we're talking about a rubber band, when we pull a rubber band, it eventually comes back. Sometimes not exactly the same way it was, but it comes back. And when we think about resiliency in life in general, it's our ability to overcome circumstances. How do we get back to our homeostasis? So when I think of resiliency, I think about how can I help that person, not necessarily forget what happened, because it has happened, but how do we move through life with that experience that just occurred? How do we now excel in life moving forward?
Anyone want to build? Resilience.
Look, is this thing on? It's not like holding the mic. Building upon what Dr. Player stated, it's enhancing their ability to, or giving them the tools to, not necessarily fixing their problems for them, or as he stated, making it seem like they never happened. It's, this has happened to you, now how can we build your toolkit in order to move forward so that it does not further impact the trajectory of your life? Because a lot of us go through things as we are coming up, and one little thing or one big thing can completely change the trajectory of your life. So it's giving someone the tools that they need to cope, to move forward, and have as minimal impact, as minimal negative impact as possible as they move forward.
I love that. Minimal impact. Ooh, Dr. Ida, you look What do you think?
So I think this idea of resilience often gets attached to Black people because our ability to survive. But I don't always think that it's about us thriving, right? So for generations, we've survived against all odds, forms of oppression such as unemployment, dilapidated housing, environmental injustice, mass incarceration, slavery, Jim Crow, and the like. But the long-term impact on our mental and physical health is devastating. We see it in the high rates of diabetes, hypertension, or cancer, maternal mortality, and dementia. This tells us that we're often just surviving, not thriving. Endurance alone, resilience alone, is not resilience. The idea of enduring like a mule is what I think about. Puts the focus on tolerating what is unbearable. Likewise, labeling Black women as strong often becomes a way to dismiss our pain and justify injustice, as if our capacity to endure suffering validates it. And for me, these are not examples of resilience. Instead, I define resilience as a capacity to survive and thrive. It means being in an environment that supports our flourishing, where we can think, create, and be at our best. I think of it in terms of a fern. If you have ever seen a fern, you see how beautiful it gets when it's able to be at its maximum capacity. In Akan culture, the fern symbolizes endurance and resilience. Yet if you've ever cared for one, you know how delicate it is and how it requires the right amount of moisture, sunlight, shade in order for it to get big. In ideal conditions, the fern doesn't just survive, it flourishes. This is what resilience means to me, not simply putting up with hardship, but cultivating the conditions that enable the thriving.
Yeah! Interactive experience. Anybody want to say anything? Was that resonating with somebody out there?
That resonated with me
Yes.
simply because I remember thinking the same exact thing when I went through. I had cancer and people would always, oh, but you're so strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
thank you. Anybody else? Come on now.
Listen, I just wanted to say, amen,
Come on.
cheers, yay. Listen, okay, we tired, we go out.
All right.
Ain't nobody trying to be resilient, I want a soft life. Okay, I want to be deferred in the sun that gets
That's
watered and
good.
cared for, rubbed and talked to. I don't want to have to just be, just persist. And I love how you contextualize, right, how we think about resilience. Because to your point, right, in the Black community, that's been the cornerstone of we're strong, we're resilient. Why we gotta be strong? Why do we say to people all the time? We're tired. I don't wanna say nobody else,
That's
but
right.
us, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, thank you. And also, I wish I brought my book so you can sign it.
Okay.
One more from the audience.
And I think like the title is Reconstruction and Resilience, and that's such a beautiful way to reconstruct your resilience. And I think oftentimes as Black women, you can like say you're having a bad day and people are like just push through, or you can talk about parenting issue that you're experiencing and people are like, well, at least they ain't that bad. Right? We're not allowed opportunities to just build and just be and have a human experience. So I really love how you just put that into words about how we can reconstruct your resilience.
I love what you said, Ebony, around capacity to survive and thrive. That really resonated with me. Lucy?
Dr. Aya, I think when I was thinking about this question, that's kind of where I started as well. For a long time, resilience, my entire life has just meant pushing through and keeping going, no matter what, and wearing that almost with a badge of honor, and being reflective of my strength to some capacity. And no matter how heavy life felt either, just keep pushing through, and I've almost prided myself on that bounce back of like, when stuff gets hard, the one thing I do know how to do is keep going, every time. And I've recently gone through a season of life that has taught me that stillness, I can also recognize stillness as a form of resilience. And it's not always this hard charging, push through, no matter what, keep going. And so the stillness of self-reflection, what do I really need? Being able to give myself rest if I need it, pause if I need it. I think in 2025, it's really hard to think about what you think about, because we all have so many things going on and we all have so many responsibilities. So I like to take a moment just to think about how I'm actually feeling and what's actually going on. And so that's the side of resilience that I think I'm growing into in this season of life.
I love that. Come on, season of
Resilience for me is, it's kind of new as an adult. So for me, I didn't have any of this as I traveled through life head first. Up until I just recently passed my course for my PhD, I knew nothing else.
Congratulations. Come on now.
No, but I'm saying this to say that I've been given an opportunity to learn these things along my educational journey. In the sports world, you detach your emotions completely. To attach your emotions to anything would tear you down. So I had to unwind. I've been spending the last 20 years unwinding this yarn that's wrapped up in me, and the resilience is to keep pushing through no matter what wall I hit. For the youth, I explained to them, student and student athletes, if you're going to get into athletics, that visibility is going to bring you issues that you need to be ready for. There's going to be 3 types of people to be resilient against that's coming. It's going to be the person that wants to take advantage of you, the notoriety, even in the middle school and high school, let a kid score 3 touchdowns, hit 30 points. Watch all adults come around and start patting them on the back. is going to be the one that's competing against them, that's trying to match what they're doing. And then you got the family and friends, the ones that's going to tell me what I don't want to hear. So my resilience is going to determine on who I put beside me, as I'm referring to the youth, which also transfers to adults. Whoever I put beside me. Now, for me, I had a hard head. Still kind of somewhat of a hard head. Falling down is my best teacher. Not so much now, but it still is a great teacher for me. The choice is going to be on them. Whoever you have as a support system, because I got that table over there, they're going to tell me what I don't want to hear. They're going to hold me accountable. Resilience is a foundation. You show me your 5 best friends, I'll show you how resilient you are.
Lily, can I ask you a follow-up on resilience? So you've turned your platform as an athlete into one that empowers you through evidence-based behavioral programs. How do you define resilience in the context of leadership and legacy?
First, you have to be honest with them.
Yeah.
A lot of times we as adults try to be perfect, try to say we don't make mistakes, try to pretend like we're something we're not. Instead of being honest with the kids and sitting down and explaining to them. I'll give you an example of leadership. On my social media page, I do it every Monday, a Happy Monday post. I could, with my voice, if I wanted to, I could talk about some things completely different. And because of that visibility, they will go that way. My choice is to tell people my journey, what I'm learning, what I'm doing, what I'm pushing up against. It went from 5, 6, 7,000 to 30,000. Making myself vulnerable, saying I am still growing, I am still learning, but I'm willing to work with you, give you these tools that I've developed, and let's grow together. I'm not at the top of a chair. In leadership, I don't have to, in leadership, I don't have to sit at the top in the chair, but I have to go and move through everyone and give them a piece of me in the process in hopes that they open up.
I really appreciate you speaking about that vulnerability, putting yourself out there. That's hard to do. Okay, Dr. Z. You've spent over 20 years guiding others through behavioral and emotional challenges. How do you personally sustain resilience as someone who constantly is pouring into others?
That is a good question.
Boundaries. Boundaries. I didn't always have them. Growing up, I'm the oldest of 8, the only girl. Right, and we grew up in the same house. Up in the same house. I will say that I lacked boundaries. I was always the strong one that had to take care of everybody. Yeah, I was like the mother. That was the mother of the house, right? I had to learn when to say no, or when enough was enough. I would always have one of my brothers in tow everywhere I would go. And you would think that, I was the mom and not my mom being the mom. She did what she could. I'm not even, growing up, you thinking, my mom was the worst mom ever. No, she did what she could. She did what she could with what she had. I learned from that as well. It took me into my 30s to realize that. I did have to learn to say no. Because as I went through life, I started to realize that I was a people pleaser. Because I always wanted somebody to say like, oh, you're such a good girl. Oh, you're this, you're that. And being a people pleaser, you sometimes do things that may not fit in line with your values. It took me to be in my 20s or probably 30s to realize that no is a full sentence. You can say no. And people, excuse my language, y'all, I curse. people will figure it the fuck out. People will figure it out. If you don't help them, if you don't bend over backwards, if you don't go against your values, people will figure it out. They will figure out how to do whatever it is they need to do without you. If it causes you to break your back or to go against anything that you don't value, feel free to say no and let that be it without guilt. And that's where I am now.
Yes, come on. I want to stay here on this topic of the boundaries and emotional regulation. So, Lucien, as a mother and a mentor, how do you model resilience and emotional regulation for young people who've experienced that instability or injustice?
I'm gonna kind of lean on what Willie said, the vulnerability. And I believe we're all still learning, and that process never stops. So I like to tell my kids, like, I am quite literally growing through while I walk alongside them. And I think being able to do that as an adult, like Willie said, is really liberating, and it helps our kids see this likeness, and it's really helped me grow substantially. But even as a health coach, just having the tools to stop and breathe, or to, like I said, reflect. Like, reflecting is a big one. Grounding yourself. Our kids practice gratitude on a very regular basis, and it's funny because I could probably count on one hand the amount of kids that when I say, okay, what are you grateful for? Don't look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, what is gratitude? And so I think just starting with the posture, right? And like the tools, like I said, breathing, reflection, coming back to self. And I think as we model that as adults, it's a reminder for our young people, and vice versa, because they teach us a lot too. And so I think that's just where I start, is the basics, the foundation.
Get back to the basics. I love that. Dr. Playa.
Oh, my goodness.
Can't help it.
Like basketball player, y'all.
Oh, man.
So you also worked with a diverse group of folks, high-risk youth, professional athletes, helping them navigate identity, masculinity, and self-actualization. What have these experiences taught you about how resilience manifests differently across those groups?
Resiliency looks different from every person based off of their lived experience. When we're talking about these two separate categories, we're talking about how does their environment help shape what does resiliency look like and what are they being resilient towards. So when I'm working with at-risk kids, what I realize is, one, they're very resourceful. And although society and others around them may have put them down and told them that they're not, they are worthy and they do possess something. My objective has been helping them find what that is in them based off of what they have used in their past experiences. So how can we take what you have learned in this situation over here and apply it over there? And what I have found is, with my at-risk kids, because a lot of them have lived in environments where they had to figure out life on their own. That's a quality, that's a strength, and that needs to be acknowledged and recognized. So when I'm working with them, I want to install that encouragement in them and say, you have that ability to adjust to life circumstances. Let's just figure out how can we utilize that attribute in a manner that's going to benefit you, that's going to put you in a position to win. And what does winning look like for you? Because for the most part, they never thought about what does winning look like for them. It's always been about, how do I get through today? How do I deal with the circumstances in my environment that I can't fathom? So the reality of it is, when they're in survival mode, very understandable. Let's utilize that ability to push through, to gain knowledge, and use it to your benefit. But with athletes, it's this drive to, as you were mentioning earlier, that pressure. But within that pressure is that ability to produce. So it's really that attribute of how can I, in the dimmest light, still gain success. Now, how does that look like for some of the athletes I work with now? Afterwards, after the lights are turned off, how do I pivot to something new? If all I have been taught to do was to thrive at this sport, now that it's over, what does life look like? Well, life looks like your ability to win. What is it that you want to win at? And that's what resiliency looks like.
What do you want to win at? Come on. Are y'all picking up these nuggets? Audience, because this is for some new folks that have come in, this is an interactive experience. So you can raise your hand, give me a little head nod, something, if something resonates with you or you want to add to that, just let me know. Because we have our questions up here, but we also want this to be very much a collective experience for us to learn from each other. Right? Hey, thumbs up, what are we on Zoom? Thumbs up, are we all here? You in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to add to what Dr. Z mentioned about boundaries and how people will figure it out. Sometimes they won't. And I think that can be a boundary too. A lot of us, when we kind of find our way, we want to bring everyone with us, right? Especially our folks. We want to take everyone with us. We can't
Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
right that they may not be in a place, they may not have the capacity currently. So I think with that, right, people figuring it out, we have to remember they may not. And they may need time, you know, and you let them get there. But I think that's an important boundary too, for some folks, they just aren't, they're not ready. And I think you can spin yourself in circles trying to do the work for somebody, right? And I think it's important to do that and always be a resource for when they are ready, always be there, but also don't spin yourself in circles.
Yep. I learned that the hard way. You can't write it more than others.
Right. Look at me, I was about to say, girl in relationships. Yeah. Trying to be there for a person, hoping that they would potentially learn from you, only for it to go the opposite way. So that is literally one of the ways that I learned the boundary of a no. Because some people will siphon that energy out of you when they had no intention of doing good with it. But that is literally how I learned it. Learned it the hard way. That people will figure it out. It is not on you to fix anyone.
Say that again for the people in the back.
I forgot. It's not on you to fix them. It's not on you to fix anyone, really, honestly.
Everybody can.
It's not on you to fix anybody. It's on you to work on yourself. And then hopefully they will figure it out without draining you. I learned from the drain.
I wanted to follow up on two things. The first thing is about boundary. I think oftentimes we forget to honor ourselves and we betray ourselves in order to help others.
Yep.
And I think once I learned to start honoring myself and always choosing me, like I'm not, if I have to choose between you and me, I'm always going to choose me to honor myself. And I wouldn't betray myself. And I even teach that to my daughter. And I think a lot of times too, like you said about the control, like I'm only in control of my behavior. I can try to be helpful to other people, but how they received it and how they accept it, that's their journey and that's on them. And just releasing that ability to control others and just control myself. I feel like it helps with your boundaries. And also when working with kids, I feel like a lot of times, we forget to humanize children's behaviors. Like a lot of times as adults, we're still navigating and regulating our own.
That's right.
And when you're working in school systems, you expect a kindergartner to be able to regulate his emotions or her emotions.
Come on now.
Yet you as an adult, you're still going through that journey of figuring out your emotions and learning how to regulate your emotions. And I think when we learn to humanize kids' behaviors and give them that grace, and also like let them know like I'm human, I'm walking alongside you, we're figuring it figuring this out together, and also like letting go of that perfection. Like as an adult, we always don't have good days, but as an adult, you get to choose how you handle your bad days, right? You can go on a walk, or you can choose to take a PTO day, you can choose to call into work. Kids, they still gotta go to school, they still have to listen to you, so they're limited with their options and their resources, and they're still growing, and we're still growing also, so I think just giving them grace and letting them know, like, we're all figuring this out together.
Thank you. See, this is why it's a collective audience experience. There's some brilliance in the space, and I just appreciate you all sharing. So let's talk about Black women. Dr. Ebony, your work centers Black women's voices and experiences in higher education and writing spaces. How do you see storytelling and authorship as acts of healing and resilience?
Absolutely. And I feel compelled because I also want to chime in about
Yes,
boundaries.
Yes.
Lord. And the thing that one of the young ladies mentioned in the back is you want to take everybody with you, right? So I think about Alice Walker, her text, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, and this definition of womanism that she lays out. And she's talking about how womanism is about us taking other people with us, right? And I'm thinking about in my own life, my mother is struggling with dementia. I have an aunt who also may have dementia, and the people in my life are getting older. And I think about a younger me and wanting to take people with me, and them not really because I'm younger maybe, or because of the lack of willingness, or whatever it is, not really understanding that, no, you can't live in isolation. No, we have to come together as a family. All these things to now see the manifestation of these diseases because they chose not, for whatever reason, couldn't do it, whatever. And the burdens that it ends up leaving on your community when you don't take that risk, when you don't, do what you need to do. And so this idea about boundaries, I'm like, yes, and I'm also struggling with this. To be honest, it's like, how do I, and it's been a long-term thing for me since my mother was diagnosed 4 years ago. It's like, how do I have boundaries with this?
Yeah.
Especially when I've asked her to do certain things so that she wouldn't get to this particular predicament, knowing that dementia runs in her family for generations. And so I'm like, what is that? What is that? That's been my long-term study over the last 4 years. And so for me, setting boundaries was, I'm not gonna move back to Milwaukee. I'm gonna stay here, and I'm gonna do my best to care for you, make sure you have everything you need, and I'm gonna be as involved as I can, but I'm not moving. And you might not move here. And understanding that for me, like, that was my mental health, that was my well-being. And I just wanted to share that and offer that, because sometimes it's not a simple, just have a boundary. This is my mother.
Yeah.
I love her so much. And also, there had to be a boundary in place in talking about and thinking about her long-term care. So I wanted to.
You to be courageous and choose your health.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like that for me, and I've done it messily, right? Like, it's not been a perfect journey. Sometimes I've taken on too much. Sometimes I didn't do enough. And striking that balance between the two, just to know, like, it's hard when you are in loving relationships with people to set boundaries and not set walls. You know what I mean? By a wall where I'm trying to keep you away from me. It's like, I want it to be in such a way where we can still be in relationship and negotiating the parameters of that relationship. So I wanted to offer that. It was on my heart as we were talking about boundaries. It's like, I still struggle with it. I still struggle with it, particularly in this particular situation where the needs are so high and there's such vulnerability that if you don't do something, something drastic could happen to the person.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So this.
Do you want me to give you the next? Do you want me to give you the question again?
No, I have it right here. Yeah, right. connected to this idea of authorship, right, and storytelling.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, in order to get to where I was with my mother, I was journaling a lot. I was writing a lot. I was reflecting a lot on my own emotions, the things that were coming up inside of me for me to even get there. I think on one side, I had voices that were like, you need to go on in and you need to support and you need to move her there or you need to move there, move here. And the other side, people were like, well, you should just abandon, like, you don't need to do that for her. And so it was never, it's like the writing process, I feel like the story and studying her and writing allowed me to understand what type of posture I needed to take in terms of approaching that. And I feel that that wasn't just for me, that's for Black women.
Yes.
When you talk about writing, when you talk about authorship, it's a process of healing and resiliency because we're positioning ourselves as the knowledge holders. We're positioning ourselves as the ones that have the answers instead of listening. I had 2 women therapists who were like, you know, you don't necessarily need to take care of her. I'm like, what kind of nonsense is that? And other people, exactly. I was like, no matter what she did, she's mama. Like, we don't do that. We Black. Come on. And on the other side, folks that were like, you need to, like my dad, who would have preferred me to move there and have her move here. My parents have been separated since I can't even remember. Would have preferred me that I lean more in. And the writing process, the storying process, the authoring process, and the same is true for other Black women. And I think that that's why there's so many Black women who want to write, who are writing, who want to publish, because they want their knowledge heard. Not the voice of someone else, not because the other voices are bad. I think they are well intended, but they're not always what we need to hear. They're not always coming from inside of us. And so writing, authorship allows us to tap into that inner reservoir of wisdom that we don't always listen to because we want to fit in, we want to be acceptable, we want to be accepted, we want to be pleasing. I would have loved that my dad agreed with me on everything, and he just don't. and allowing him to be that way, but also like allowing me to like, I remember a couple years ago, the first book that I published under Aya Collective Publishing was called The Gospel According to a Black Woman, understanding that the truth and wisdom that is bound up in Black women is enough. And it's a powerful, not in terms of religious sense, but it could be in a religious sense, but a powerful testimony for the world. That our knowledge, our expertise, our know-how is enough to liberate all of us. And so for me, that's what the story and the authorship really means to me.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I love the inner wisdom piece because I feel like we have that. Black folks have always been inventors, educators. You know, we still are fighting for our rightful place in history as it continues to be dismantled by this current administration. But it's like your spaces, like your collective that are able to hold that for us. So I just want to say thank you. Let's talk about, I've heard a little bit around values, compromising our values, a little bit continuing to set those boundaries. Well, let's talk about some ethics. So Dr. Claire, how do ethics intersect with healing work in mental health, especially when cultural values and clinical frameworks may not always align?
That's a very good question because for the most part, most theories are catered towards rich white men. And as a clinician of color, I have to take my ethical standard is what would be best for this individual I'm working with. And I have to put myself in their shoes. So when I think about these theories, does this theory align with this person's worldview who is not a rich white man? So I need to take that in consideration. So ethically speaking, myself, I have to understand the values and beliefs of that individual and acknowledge that for that individual when working with them, and not take this ethnocentric perspective, which is white-centered, but rather what works best for an individual who does not align with the majority but is a minority. And those responses or those interventions that I use, I would take in consideration the environment that that person lives in and the impact it has on them. And I can't tell them to just rub dirt on it and walk away because that won't help them. And that right there is unethical. So I do have to acknowledge what are the barriers, how can we address those barriers while also empathizing with that individual because they are human. And I need to acknowledge that.
Come on, humanizing these folks, I really appreciate that. And understanding their values, the inner workings. Lucian, let's talk about revival mentoring and the emphasis. So you have whole person transformation. What are some of those key elements that help people move from surviving to thriving?
That's a good one. I think thriving it's like balance. Like we don't get there. It's something that we consistently work to maintain and a space that we continuously work to be in. For me and all of my training and my mentees, I like to teach them about the health triangle. So mind, body, spirit. And you can't really take them away from one another. I think a lot of times we like to just look at one or the other, but they're all connected and they're all playing on each other at the same time. Ironically, another big piece that I like to talk to my mentees is their environment. So I paint this picture of the health triangle kind of overlapping, and then the outward circle is their environment. And your environment plays on all three of those things at the same time. Ironically, I was just talking with one of my mentees, and we were talking about how important your environment is, and he was like, yeah, he gave this metaphor. He said it was like I got mud splashed on me, and then I went back to the same puddle to get the mud off, and it was just mud everywhere. And I was looking at this young man just like, I was blown away because it's so true. And I think a lot of times it's easy to maybe not prioritize that piece. And then again, as we look at health, sometimes we like to look at it in these silos. And so understanding that the whole person, you can't separate them out, and they all play on one another.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing in my coaching with adults and with young people.
No, I really appreciate that. And will you also have the Project Safe Campus and Excel U, focusing also on tools for young people, equipping them with decision-making tools? So what shifts do you believe are most needed in how we prepare young people for real-world challenges?
I think first, everything that I've ever created as far as education, I have 10 curricula, Project Safe Campus is in 8 counties and 400 schools. Everything that I've done has been to find out what's going on inside of me. When I put that ball down, I realized I don't know who I am. I was a product that came from an environment with rules that do not apply to real world. Completely skewed. So basically, real world challenges has to do with us as adults understanding that one size doesn't fit all. What someone else may be going through, you may not be going through. And then what we have to do is, like the young lady back there said, when we're dealing with youth, there's a reason that I deal with youth. In the beginning, I was searching for that kid that I never was able to become. I was searching for the reasons that I reacted certain ways to certain things. Why I had trust issues, and still have some to this day that I have to work on and deprogram. But resilience in the context of with real world challenges and most needed, it needs us that have been drugged through the glass and the mud to get up and write and share what has happened to us. To say this has happened to me, and this is how I got out of it. We were talking a minute ago about that. I'm not embarrassed or I don't, because as an adult, real world to prepare them, it helps me grow because I can't hide behind a mask. Yeah, I can say I'm Willie Burton, I got a PhD and smile and this and that, and that'll work, but who is it gonna help? Who is it gonna help? So the things that you see was a person who was trying to find themselves. And in the process, I start writing and understanding. Let me say this too. I can't believe I'm about to finish a PhD. I couldn't stand school.
Speak up.
I couldn't. But this was so eye-opening to my soul, this journey that I've been on. This journey of discovery, of things that I never knew. Why, how I do this. Why do I react that way? Why am I afraid of this? Why do I react like that? Why do I keep people at a distance? Why? And I'm able to turn around and talk to the kids and say, look, this is where I've been. This is what happened to me. Because let's separate again, student athletes. It's two different scenarios, two different ways that things are going to be engaged. So I understand that I can get away with something if I drop 30 points. You won't say anything. And then I try to carry that into the real world, where there's laws for speeding and things like that. The challenges are real, but us as messengers creating that avenue and pathway through our pain, our trials, and our tribulations, is what creates the map for those that are coming behind us.
Incredible messengers.
Yes. Audience. Oh, yes, come on.
I get deep, I'm sorry.
That's good.
My question was around just the reformation of identity, and what would you say is the first step in that? We have a lot of people, that are coming out of the system, whether it's incarceration, or just, family systems of it being generational in a certain type of way. So what would you say is the first step?
Well, first, they're dual identities. Male, African-American male, female, African-American female. Those are identities that we have to jump across. Second, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a good athlete. For me, I had multiple identities when I got here because I knew better how to survive in prison than I did in college because nobody had been to college. So these identities are multitude, and jumbling them and putting the right one in the right peg at the right time that's the battle. That's the battle because we come with it. Call it code switching. I noticed because I had to understand and learn. These are things that I learned, what you're saying, that I didn't know existed in me. And I found just intriguing, and I'm getting a PhD because it was like nobody ever told me this. So first understanding the identity itself and what's the foundation of each of those identities and how they're important to the individual. Not important to that person or this person or that person. How do I see myself as an African American? Because I grew up in a house with a strong mother. I had a strong mother. That's how I ended up in Minnesota. Because I wasn't going to Michigan State, so she could come up to campus and be on my back. So, couldn't do that. Identity. Like Zakiya. About 25 of my cousins I helped raise. This is the first time that I've been here in Minnesota that I lived alone since I left Minnesota. Quiet time, personal time. It's something that's hard to get depending on who you are because they come at. Who am I? I'm just Willie Burton. I'm a father. I'm an African-American male. I'm an educator. That's who I see myself as. Other people see me as the way they want to see me. But as long as I keep it basic, and sometimes the NBA stuff come out, but I got a group of people, like I said, that ain't afraid to tell me what I need to hear. Having that foundation that grounds you, even if you're not an NBA player, you could be the manager of this building. We all get to a point where we get on a high. I don't know about y'all. I'm not gonna say you all. Sometimes I get on a point where I get to a high and I have to be careful because it's dangerous. That I have to know about myself. I can, that's enough. I'm not
I just want to thank all the panelists for being here today. When I walked in, I think I was listening to the Dr. Aya, is that how you pronounce her name? And then I heard you speak about that you write. And so then I quickly Googled and saw that you have some higher education experience. And it also appears as though not only are you an author, but you have your own publishing company.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I just would like to hear a little bit more about because not only are you in higher education, but the fact that you have authored books, and then that for you then to be a black woman of color, and to go to the lengths of having your own publishing company is remarkable. And I just would like to hear a little bit more about your desire to do that, and your hopes with regard to your publishing company. If you could.
Absolutely, yes, we can.
Years.
So, thanks for Googling me.
Make connections.
Yeah, make connections for sure. So I started IF Collective. It used to be called Kinky Curly Theological Collective. In 2017, I was a licensed minister at the time. I was ministering in the church. And one of the things that I noticed is that there was a lack of Black women in the pulpit. And I was growing tired of that. And even though I was becoming more accustomed to a framework called Womanist Theology, it's rooted in Alice Walker's work, but there are theologians like Katie Cannon and Jacqueline Grant, Emily Towns, I can nerd out there, but I won't, who were talking about those things. I really wasn't seeing it in the congregations I was ministering in Minnesota. So I started this place for Black women to come together and write. And initially, it was about Black women doing theology who's interested in spirituality. And then quickly, our first meeting, I realized that it wasn't that. Because there were women coming from a variety of faith and spiritual backgrounds. And I wanted to create a space where we could all feel like we could belong, regardless of what our faith, religion, creed, sexuality. I wanted us all to be able to know that we could come to the space and be heard and articulate and write. And so we started writing right away. We had a reading, a performance in 2017. I wanted to publish right away. We could, for whatever reasons, I never had enough submissions. And so what I decided to do was to publish first, to kind of like show the way. I had already self-published a couple of books. And in publishing, I talked about the gospel according to a Black woman. Also published, also opened a publishing company called IM Media and Publishing, which is really about elevating the voices and the expertise of Black women. And we have been publishing since 2020. And so we're entering our 5-year anniversary of IM Media Publishing, even though our overall organization has been around for 8 years. And since that time, we published 2 anthologies, Let the Black Woman Say Ashe, Finding the Voice Within, which I have tonight. We've also independently published a couple of texts, and we published a children's book as well. We actually published my son's book. And so for me, like, we center Black women in the work, not to the exclusion of anyone else, but to understand that when we create a space and we claim that space, we automatically liberate and open up the space for other people. And so me publishing my son's book, even though he's not a black woman at all, was an extension of the work that I do. Like, it's on par for the work that I do, because the work that I do is for black women, and it's really for all of us. And so I think a big thing for me is that when we start talking about black women's literature, black women's writing, people start to think, well, that's just for black women. No, it's for all of us. It's really for all of us. I think about this when I think about Toni Morrison's book, Beloved. And when you read, I just finished listening to the book because it was hard for me to read. And so when you get dense, Toni Morrison, she's amazing, and she's dense also at the same time. And so listening to that book, you realize like what she's offering is for all of us. Yes, it's a black woman. Yes, her main protagonists are black women. But what she's talking about is something that's happening during slavery, where black people are forced to make decisions because we have lack of choices, lack of optimal choices. And that's what she's talking about. And the lessons that she espoused there are really for all of us. And so that's the publishing company. And so we publish collections. We're actually coming out with our first book that I didn't independently author. I'm actually helping a pair of women publish a book on endometriosis that will be coming out in March, which has been, we've been working on it for 2 years. When they first handed me the manuscript, it's 5,000 words. It's 34,000 words now. And we have people who are interested in being a part of the review team. If you want to be part of the review team, let me know. So that we can promote this book. And there's so much more ahead of us too. So thank you for asking that question. And yes, I'm in higher ed too. And I think there are definitely parallels between the work in my publishing outside of higher ed continues to be reinforced by the fact that there continues to be lack of opportunities for black women in higher ed. Lack of publishing opportunities, lack of professorship opportunities, just lack of opportunities, period. And so it continues to reflect the fact that the publishing companies needs to be there. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Claudia. I'm coming to you, Dr. Z. Because I love your boldness. And so we've been talking about a journey, taking a journey and what that looks like, a journey of discovery. So you often blend compassion with straightforwardness in your approach. How do you balance truth-telling and empathy when leading others toward growth?
I always have to, I preface. Okay, so if none of you do know this, I am from Philadelphia. Philly, go Birds.
Philly from Philly.
Grew up a couple of miles from each other. We're very direct, very abrupt, straightforward, don't like to use a lot of words. That can come across as not compassionate, right? Like, girl, you just, dang, you just take the knife and jab and turn. It was like, no, like my goal is to help you towards your goal, whatever that goal is. It was a learned skill because I know that I can be abrupt and very direct. I had to learn to be vulnerable. Again, growing up in North Philly, the oldest of 8, the only girl, I had to be strong, and I had that wall. You talked about a wall earlier. That wall will be there so I wouldn't take in anybody's emotions. As a therapist, you have to learn not to take in anybody's emotions, but I learned that I can be vulnerable and not absorb. So that a person can begin to trust me in the words that I am saying to them. I'm not trying to hurt you, I'm not trying to harm. You have a goal, I don't care if you want to sell socks. You want to make some socks? Come on, I'm gonna help you make these, I'm gonna show you how to make these socks, and we gonna sell these socks. You're gonna be the best doggone sock maker and seller you could possibly be. I don't care what it is, but I'm gonna get you there. But it's a tough love approach, but I've learned to be more compassionate and vulnerable so that it wouldn't come off as so harsh. I had to learn that at age, you know, it's a journey. Because it's like I'm gonna say it and then I'm gonna walk off. And you go like, oh, it's sting, ouch, ouch, ouch. I tried to take out the ouch. I'm gonna soften it up a little bit, but both ways I said what I said.
I heard that. I'm like, Yeah, I said what I said. We have a few minutes left for open audience questions. Open audience questions. Well, last remarks, yes.
Kind of going back to what Dr. Player said. So you spoke a lot about like being a clinician. I wanted to ask, how do you navigate what's not said in a session?
That's a very good question. I'll try to figure out how to say this. That's very common in a session, and there's a reason why, and it's quite understandable. When I teach students, I'm explaining to them that a client coming in don't know you from a can of paint, and they're expected to tell you their deepest, darkest secrets they won't tell their family members. They won't even tell themselves that. And here they are coming in and making themselves vulnerable. So how do I navigate that? Well, I allow them to have time to get to that point. With counseling, it's not a finish line. It's a process, it's a journey. And they may not get to that point with me, and that's fine. Because when they're ready to talk about that, when they're ready to discuss that, I'm gonna be present, I'll be there. And if I'm not there and there's someone else there, I would like to leave a good taste in their mouth around counseling, that they're willing to go see someone else. So it's really a matter of navigating on their time versus trying to pull it out of them. Because for the most part, people are coming to counseling that's not ready to talk about a lot of things. They're only there to talk about the surface issues. Now, I know that there's underlying issues that's contributing to their current dilemma, but until they're ready to acknowledge that underlying issue, we're just kind of waiting. It's a waiting game. And it's a waiting game in the sense of waiting on them to come to terms with themselves. And I always, as a clinician, my objective isn't to make this drastic change with someone. It's get that person to have that aha moment, to recognize that what they're doing and what they want don't coincide with one another. What they do next is up to them. And if we need to talk about this in circles again, I'm there. But it's really a matter of when are they ready to talk about it? And that's how I navigate it.
I would say too, like, I'm a free licensed mental health therapist, so usually, like, even just completing a diagnostic assessment, like, you ask them questions about, like, trauma they experience, or, like, childhood, and I literally tell them, like, you just met me 5 minutes ago, and you don't even know me, like, you barely know my name, so you don't have to share this information with me, like, it's good for you to share with me for assessment purposes, but I understand if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think just addressing that elephant in the room, and like you said, your journey to go on and just continue to provide that safe space and don't take a lot of people not sharing, because they don't know you from a can of paint. Like, you have friends that you don't even share certain information with. So imagine going to a complete stranger. Sometimes you're not sitting on the couch, you're looking at them through video, and you want me to tell you my darkest secrets.
Right.
Like, come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Any others? No cries of shock and outrage? Hearing that. So this amazing panelist gave us some nuggets. I'm gonna just repeat a few. The first one is set the boundaries, but not the walls.
Yes.
We also heard continue to maintain a balance, right? When we're talking about surviving and thriving. We talked about growing together and this idea of womenism, like taking women with you and continuing to stay vulnerable. And my favorite is to continue to have the capacity to survive and thrive. Is there any last little nuggets you all want to give to the audience for that?
I just want to say something about, because it seems curious about the one question, I'll talk real quick. When it says, how has my personal definition of success evolved? From what I came from to my life now, And what I've learned once individuals like this have worked with me and I've fallen and I've challenged myself, the world I was in I was literally almost, and I don't want to say this to be disrespectful, blind. I was blind to life and living. And I'll say this to prove the point. Whereas before, my image was everything, how I was perceived, how I was seen. You know, it was that was my value, how I saw myself. I'll give you an example of how simple it is. I got probably the biggest opportunity I had besides playing in the NBA last month. And a lot of people are still upset about it. I was supposed to be in U.S. Congress. I'm supposed to be running right now. All I had to do was say yes. Right then I got $250,000. By December, I would have had $10 million. By September, I would have had $40 million. It was already written out. But something happened. I watched 19 people pass 19 people pass in 23 days. My teammate, who's now going back to Ohio, we just sent him back the other day. I spent every day in the hospital with him. And who cares about that? If I don't drive the most expensive car or have the biggest house or have the biggest boat or I don't care. You know what means something to me right now? Something so simple. Step class.
Come on.
The 8-count step. That right there for me.
That's right.
That right there for me is my celebration, but that's for me.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And if the rest of my life, if all I do is 8-count step here and walk across the campus, University of Minnesota, and keep working with these kids in these schools, and
That's perfect.
I don't meet someone's need for material things or attention, that's where I need to be.
That's right.
So that's how my life and my vision of things have changed. It's no longer about material things, notoriety, popularity. It's about taking the pains and all of the trauma that I went through and passing it back on to these kids.
Come on.
That means more to me. And stepping.
Anybody else last one?
Develop a writing practice.
Yes.
Just do it. Just do it. Like, have a daily, a weekly, whatever the routine is. Develop a writing practice. Like, honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done for my mental health and well-being.
Well, we're talking about reconstructing resilience, making sure I
Yes.
get the words. Be sure to take care of yourself before your kids, because without you, you cannot take care of them. Before your parents, sorry to say, in order to take care of your mother, you need to take care of yourself. Before the community, you need to take care of yourself. Because you are, it's cliche, but you are no good to anyone if you are not good to yourself. You need to be better to yourself than you are to others. It is no longer a badge of honor to say I am doing all of these things and wearing myself thin. We're not doing that no more, right? We heal our communities by healing ourselves, but it has to start with taking care of yourself, not the other way around. You don't take care of everybody else and then with the scraps. You take care of yourself first and then you offer the excess to everybody else.
Yeah. And she said that with her whole chest.
I did.
And her
She
little
did.
voice.
Beat up.
I did.
I'm beat up. I need to talk to you too.
Okay. I'll just end on this note, kind of in the same breath that what you shared. In order to really reconstruct resiliency, what is your self-care plan?
Mm-hmm.
That self-care plan will come in handy when things get rough. And you'll be amazed. Right now, everything could be going great for you right now. This is a perfect opportunity to do your self-care plan. Because when you're burned out, when you don't have energy, refer to that self-care plan. Because that's how you're going to bounce back. Because as you all shared, if you're no good for yourself, you're no good for anyone else. And like the metaphor says, whenever you're on a plane, who do you put the mask over first? Yourself. Because if you put the mask over yourself, you can help others. That's that self-care plan. Put the mask over yourself.
Great example.
I have to add, yes.
Yes.
Of course. And like Dr. Z said, I think it's important to ask yourself what you need. We hear self-care all the time, and we're always hearing about all these different tools and tactics, but sometimes you just have to ask yourself. I was in a training recently, and they asked us, what is the very first thing a baby does when it comes into this world? And the first thing a baby does is take a breath in, and then the last thing that we do as we depart is take a breath out. And so I think that simple reminder is sometimes just stop, just pause and come back to your breath. Whether that's prayer, journaling, all of these different tools, it is that simple too. And we live in a world now that does not allow us to do that, and definitely doesn't remind us to take those moments. So.
Can y'all give these panelists
You're there. You're there.